Here's the story of when our DM disappeared and how we came to learn what happened to him. The cast: DM, Ranger, me, Warforged Cleric, Dragonborn Barbarian, Tiefling Druid, Changeling Bard. I was looking for a new 5e group to join after I left a game with a super controlling DM, and posted an ad in a Facebook group. Out of the handful of responses I got, this group fit my schedule best, and the DM was new as well. We chat a bit on Facebook Messenger, and he invites me to the Discord server. There were already 2 players from his previous one-shot that will be continuing with this campaign, and we got another 2 players before we started. The first session went very well, and all of us really clicked as a group. Since this game was only being held every other week, I suggested that we have a roleplay chat to keep things going in the off time. It was a hit. Everyone was really getting into character, and the DM was very responsive, acting as the NPCs. We have 3 more sessions and find out that all of our backstories are woven into the main plot. Pieces and plans are coming together, and we're about to confront the city council about the happenings in town and in the surrounding areas. This was shaping up to be an exciting campaign. Our last session was June 5th, and at the end we had finally reached level 3 after stopping a ritual from happening. Everything regarding this game and the DM seemed copacetic, and everyone was excited to play again. This is where things started getting strange. June 6th through June 8th. The DM, Barbarian, Cleric, Bard, and myself were active in the RP chat, gathering more intel and honing our newly acquired skills. June 9th was the last post the DM made in our general chat. It was in response to a funny video someone shared. Sounds like it would be an epic quest. June 10th through June 17th. The Cleric and Barbarian are having their own conversation in the guild hall. June 17th, the Barbarian posted in general chat, "At DM, character chat is going to need you." June 19th is our game day, and so far the DM has not responded. The Cleric posts, "Everyone, has anyone heard from DM?" We all say, no. This is very strange and not like him at all. We are all adults and have lives outside the game, so it wasn't uncommon to have a slight delay, but not like this. Direct Facebook messages and Discord messages go unread and unanswered. All players meet in the voice channel on time, no DM. We wait for almost an hour, and he never shows nor answers any messages. June 20th. Radio silence. Now us players are really worried. We're chatting about what it could be and what to do. I find the DM's wife through his Facebook profile and send her a private message. "Hey there, I play in one of DM's games and we haven't heard from him since June 6th and June 9th, and we're reaching out because we're concerned. I hope everything's okay, and I'm sorry if I bothered you." "Oh, you're not a bother at all. We had a family emergency, and he probably won't be able to come back to the game for a while. Thank you for your concern. I appreciate you reaching out." Thanks for replying. We were getting worried. I'm sorry you guys are going through that. Take all the time you need." "Thank you." July 4th. The Cleric messages me saying he noticed that the DM's Facebook profile is gone and not available on Messenger. I check and confirm the same. July 10th. The Druid posts in general chat if anyone has heard any updates. We all reply that we haven't. She then goes into FBI mode, gathering his full name, location, and age, and finds this.
A disturbing warning from law enforcement as they broke up a child sex trafficking operation in northern Michigan. The 2-day sting operation in Grand Traverse County led to 8...
Game over. To say we are all shocked is an understatement. He seemed like such a normal guy and didn't give off any creepy vibes at all. Nowhere in-game or in private chats was there any hint to this behavior. We will not be continuing this game, but we'll reuse these characters in another game the Cleric, Barbarian, and I are joining. Please let this story be a message to always be careful with who you play with, and what you share with those online. Be safe out there, adventurers. Thank you for sharing your story, and I wish you guys luck with your next game. In this particular story, there was really nothing you could have done to catch this earlier, and it's just horrible. In terms of advice, there's really not much to say, but to others. I will say to be sure to vet people and feel them out when joining games online. See how they act in and out of game, and if you get some weird vibes, trust your gut. In the digital age of 2022, there are a bunch of games out there, so don't feel bad about hopping out and signing up for another if you're picking up some red flags. And with that out of the way, let's move on to the next story. Okay, how about a palate cleanser? If you've ever felt insecure and felt like YouTube could teach you how to get laid, surely you've seen the alpha male side of YouTube.
I will not have nerds as children. If my son is a nerd, one of us has to die, him or me, and I'll challenge him to Mortal Kombat.
Jesus Christ.
You probably know the type. The ones that spew male hierarchy. Are Sigma males better than alphas? Will acting like an edgy anime character get me laid? Eat this whale cum and grow 3 inches. 7 tips to be a manly man. Number 69 will shock you. I will crawl through your computer screen if you don't buy my whale cum. Yeah, so we're gonna find out what happens when someone who believes all that crap plays D&D. So without further ado, it's time to get DMing advice from Fresh and Fit as we gather up a murder and dive into this story. I have no idea what was wrong with him. This wasn't even that big of a deal. I really like telling stories, and I have found that D&D is a really fun way to do so, while having others involved as well. I often advertise for players because I could not find long-term players for a while. Over this year, I found 5 guys that have stuck with me, and surprisingly, they're all from the Middle East, so I don't need to worry about conflicting time zones as I did in the past. I ran a few small modules with them and got to know them a bit. 4 of them were really good folk, but one, Sigma, was really annoying. The things that annoyed me were, 1, he was a really big believer in alpha beta bullshit, and his character, the edgiest blood hunter I've ever seen, according to him, is a true alpha. It took us a while to realize that he was actually serious about this all, telling others to act like alphas. However, somewhere during this year, his alpha mentality changed into a Sigma mindset, and none of us have any idea what's the difference. He even told another player to adopt the Sigma mindset, because that guy told us that he was a bit upset because he had a breakup. Number 2, he really liked to take the spotlight and make himself the self-appointed leader of the party. None of us really minded that much, because we only had to tolerate it once every week, and he could be genuinely hilarious at times. I recently told them all I had a campaign in mind, and all of them were interested to play. The first session went well, and in that, they learned legends of the Master of the Adventurers Guild, who was said to be the physically strongest person in the country, to which Sigma had to say that that guy was probably a true alpha. The next session, they get to see the Guildmaster, who I had loosely based on real-life strongmen. I described him as a large, bald guy, with a fluffy beard, a rotund belly, and muscular arms. I like to give quirks to important figures, and his was that he likes to make really bad jokes that make his subordinates embarrassed, and usually he's the only one who laughs at them. Sigma didn't like this one bit. He said that I was pushing an agenda, and if this guy is the strongest person, he would have abs and whatnot. He also said that he should behave like an alpha of the pack, and not make himself to be a fool. I told him not to tell me how to make characters, and that his pseudoscience was getting old. The others started arguing with Sigma as well, and he left the call and blocked us. Do you know how hard it is to maintain abs? And they're mostly just for show. Wrestlers, strongmen, hell, even Thor in the new God of War game. Yeah, it turns out when all you do is drink and fight, your belly gets pretty big. But if you think for 1 second that's gonna get in the way of him kicking your ass, you're dead wrong. There's a difference between looking strong and being strong. And for being such a tough guy, Sigma sure did wimp out the moment someone called him on his BS. I don't know, man, that sounds kinda beta. So now that you know how to play a Sigma male in D&D, it's time to put it into action by confronting one of your problem players and letting them have it. Kinda like in this next story. Hey friend, I know we're not talking anymore, and hell, I know that talking would be 0% productive, but I have some things I need to get off my chest. First of all, please stop with this "I didn't quit, I was fired" bullshit. You ghosted everyone in the group for a month, and you were flaking out on sessions for a month before that. As one of your fellow players said, sometimes a lack of a response is an answer in itself, however unsatisfying. We removed you from the game because you didn't give us much of a choice. And yes, it was a we. I didn't just boot you without asking your fellow players first, and they all agreed. It is actually really rude to blow us off for a pub crawl that you got invited to minutes before the game start. It is also rude to have an entire ass holiday to another part of the country and not communicate that with your group until the day before the game. We were not controlling you or not letting you go to other events. We were asking you to either show up to the session you'd committed to or let us know ahead of time if you couldn't. I don't know what you expected. After a month of childish, silent treatment. But if you're not happy with how things turned out, look in a mirror. Secondly, some petty complaints. Begging me for a custom homebrew subclass, because nothing else will possibly work for this character. Annoying. Feeding me a D&D wiki subclass, and trying to insist it was balanced when it 100% was not? Very annoying. Never actually using the critical cornerstone ability from this subclass more than once after I spent hours tweaking and balancing it? My buddy, my pal, that sucks. You could have just been a reflavored official subclass, and I wouldn't have wasted my time. Rules as written, climbing costs 4 feet of movement per 1 foot unless you have a climb speed. You do not have a climb speed. Stop asking me if you can just do an athletics check. Stop sulking when I say the enemy who strategically positioned themselves on the cliff away from you is not reachable in 1 turn. Also, stop metagaming. Your character rolled like shit on Perception and Arcana and has no idea what a mimic is or if there's one in the room with you right now. You commit so much to being in character, except when you roll low. I don't care if it's in character when I ask you to stop cutting off my timid player's attempts to roleplay because it just makes sense for my character to step in. I mean it. Knock it off. Look, roleplay-wise, I get what you were going for. But you know that player has a hard time speaking up and taking initiative, and they'll fold if challenged. Your character agency doesn't fall apart by letting a suboptimal decision happen once in a while. When I ask for feedback and criticism, I am asking to help make the game better for both of us. This is my first game, and there's a lot I know I can be doing better. What's not helpful is you blowing smoke up my ass and then turning around to bitch to the other players, behind my back. One of whom is my partner, who immediately tells me, like, come on. The character you constantly joke about being a DMPC is a sad, pathetic wet cat of a man who runs from any serious conflict and is only with you guys because another party member thinks she can change him. He was a bad guy. I expected you guys to kill him. That he isn't dead is literally player agency at work. Please stop acting like I somehow engineered this so I could direct the party. Nobody even listens to his opinions because he sucks. Thirdly, I miss what your sharp wit and your commitment to your character brought to the table. I miss your excited, all-caps messages when your character's backstory would come up. I miss you laughing hard on mute as other characters got into shenanigans. I miss you helping the new players with their character builds when I couldn't. All that petty stuff was worth putting up with to have you there. The game is different now without you, and some plot beats I had planned will never be as good. I am in mourning for the fact that you are no longer here. There is a space now at the table where you used to be, and it makes everything different. Not better or worse, just different. If I'm being honest with myself, I always suspected once quarantine was over, you wouldn't be able to stick with it. In retrospect, our friendship was always a bit like that, one-sided, working best when you got your way. Our game was fun when it was the only event you could go to, right? But now the world is open and our friends are vaccinated, and suddenly, Sunday night once a month is too much to ask. And you know, we could have ended it on good terms if you'd just been honest with us, with yourself. The right thing to do was to own up to the fact that we were no longer a priority for you. You didn't want to do that. So you put the gun in my hands and dared me to pull the trigger instead. Maybe you thought I wouldn't, but I did. Because I'm not interested in playing this game I love, with my friends who I love, while your name floated around on our server like a passive-aggressive ghost. I'm disappointed in you. I miss you. I don't want you back. Kind regards, Tupperware. P.S. Your character retired to her hometown, and will live out the rest of her days peacefully. We play this game to have fun with our friends by telling cool stories in a shared imaginary world. And when one of your friends is the reason why you're not having fun, it's time to evaluate why. Sometimes it's just as simple as a miscommunication of ideas, or that the game or story just isn't for them, or that the other players at the table bring out the worst in them. And other times, like this time, they're the problem. And it's not easy to come to terms with that. Thank you for tuning in to today's stories. And if you like these stories and would like to see more of them, then hit that like button and be sure to subscribe to the channel. Subscribing is free, but if you want to support the channel even more, then you can support me over on Patreon, link in the description down below. You can join patrons like our Counts of Quills, like Sharkay, Corrido Kazuto, Critical Kunik, Evix, King Drizzle, Christian Pip, Cosmosis, Kooky Spooks, Rikus, Vincent, Haley Thompson, Zero Fang, and Netscape Navigator. Or you can join our Barons of Beaks, like Jayvon Meighan, Jesse Schoedel, Kuntos Weasel, MoetisMaou, TechBlog, Chunky Salsa, Kurestor, Cardespawn, AModestPastry, Jester King, Gintahl, Lord Rende, Gibber-Woods, Wormy, MulQueeny, Den of the Drake, McYeetly, and Anja. Coming up, the Dukes of Feathers, like Quinn, TheForgottenDruid, Jarett Suhr, Jared Zemlin, Blues Otters, General Constantine Chase, HappyRex, Doc Salty 96, and Acroth. And with all of that out of the way, I'll see you next time. As the crow flies.